So this is just a quick video about starting a store, what you need to do to start a store. Now, a lot of people tell you to research, and sure, that's great. And the research will then lead you to making some sort of plan. But the thing that you need to know from the very beginning is that no matter what you planned, it's not going to turn out the way you think it is. And no matter how much research you do, it's not going to turn out the way you think it is. But if you do some research, you can kind of see where things are going, or when something happens that is unexpected, you can say, but this is something that has happened to other people. And, especially if you're watching other YouTubers, and the YouTubers that you should watch about, starting up a store is obviously Rudy from Alpha Investments, but preceding that, Dirium's Games. I think it's called just the channel now, or Memories, or I can't remember. But anyway, Dirium's was the first store person to tell you how to run a store, and then Rudy from Alpha Investments came along and continued that sort of thing. But he mostly was about investment, and he doesn't provide as much information about running a store because he tells you that you shouldn't open a store, that there are better things you can do with your money. Then you had RNG Games and Kitchen Table TCG doing their store stuff, and they each have, RNG Games is pretty much always about how he runs his store, and Kitchen Table TCG covers a lot of other areas, as well as sometimes mentioning different aspects of running a store. And then you have Gone Rogue Games and Mason from Cardinal Gamings, and they both talk about running a store. And each of these talk about the stores at different levels. Like Dirium's was already established, but he did talk about the early days. Rudy already had lots of money from his investment days when he worked for banks, and so therefore he had a large amount of capital to move around. So he did open a store from beginning to end, but it was less risky for him because he had a war chest to sort of fall back on, and his business pivoted to this Patreon subscription type model where he sold cheap boxes to his patrons. And the game store was only ever meant to sort of buy collections and film him buying collections, but no one ever wanted to be on camera. And then a lot of fans started showing up and he could never get work done. So he eventually stopped having that store open to the public, or maybe shut it down. I don't think he ever really disclosed what happened with that. Anyway, he did show from beginning to end in 20 episodes what you need to do to open a store, and that stuff is valid. It's just that from his perspective, he didn't have as much risk because he doesn't like risk, right? So you've got Dirium's, Alpha Investments, and then the RNG game stuff is him moving from a single seller into opening his own store. And everything that he does on his channel is about running a store, and it's about running a store based on what normal people are capable of, or what they already bring to the table, whereas Rudy had a lump sum capital, and Dirium's was already established. RNG Games showed basically from selling singles and acquiring enough money to open a store, and then how you would go about doing that, and he continues to do that to this day. And Louis from Kitchen Tables TCG, similar to RNG Games, started out in a similar way, but he doesn't focus as much on running a store as RNG Game does. So his running a store stuff is a through line throughout a lot of his videos, but not the focus of the videos in particular. And then you have Gone Rogue Games, who started off as a YouTuber who was also trying to be a pro player and apparently doing quite well. And he had an original channel that was about deck building. And so he's a player, a pro player, and someone who was in the Magic community for quite a while, and knew how to monetize his channel and monetize, the stuff that he was doing, and also opened up a store. And I don't think he ever did a series necessarily on how to open up a store, but almost all of his videos these days on Gone Rogue Gaming take place in his store, and he's talking about stuff that he does as a store. So that is, another thing that you can look at for how to run a store. And then you have Mason from Cardinal Gaming, and he's established as well. I don't know how long his store has been around, but it seems like quite a while. So the stuff that he talks about is on a much higher level. But the point is, if you take Derium's Alpha Investments, RNG Games, Kitchen Table TCG, Gone Rogue Games, and Cardinal Gaming, I think I got them all, and you watch their videos, some of them have playlists about opening a store and running a store. Rudy, I believe he does have his in his 20 episodes in a playlist. Kitchen Table TCG, I don't think he does. He might. I haven't looked at his playlist stuff. And all of RNG Games videos are basically that. And then, you may not have to watch every single video all of them made, but at least try and find the videos about running a store. So that's a lot of research you can do, because they will talk about things that will happen to you, right? Or at least are likely to happen to you. And therefore, when you've opened a store and when you've done the things that you need to do, and these things happen, and you encounter things that would be difficulties if you weren't prepared, you could now be prepared, because you might remember, oh, someone talked about this and this is how they solved the problem. So you'll at least have a pathway to getting out of a difficult situation. And as for the other research, calling up other stores to find out their sales numbers, whether it's a card store or other stores in the area, and doing market research and that kind of stuff, I don't know that I can really help you with that, because I have no idea how to do that. And I don't even believe that any of that works, right? So you could do that if you know how to do that, and you are good at doing something like that. Like I'm good at, bullshitting my way on the phone and getting people to talk to me about stuff. But I just don't necessarily think that their information will pertain to what I'm doing. So I never went around and did that. So other research that people do is, they look at, different card game stores around America, and, their websites, and maybe talk to customers, maybe visit other stores. Those are things also you could do. But really the absolute essential things you need to do is to get your tax license or your tax number, whatever jurisdiction you're in, whether it needs a reseller license to sell wholesale products at retail. Not all jurisdictions need that. Mostly they just need a tax number. And then you need to incorporate yourself and leave it as a numbered company, or have it as the named company of your store. And then you need to obviously get a lease at some retail location, whether it's storefront or whether you're going to be in an upstairs retail location. And you need to provide your tax number to your landlord, that kind of stuff. And then you need to sign up to the different wholesalers, the distributors, and that's when the tax number comes in. They need that information. And then you need to make, video of the location that you have. So therefore you have to have that before you sign up to distributors. And you need to send in videos and pictures to show them that you're a physical location. And after all that, and you've created a bank account that's specific to your business, as in a business banking account, but other accounts that will have money moving around in them in that same bank, because then it's easier to transfer. And then credit cards if you need them, because it's easier to make payments with credit cards than to send a check off to the distributor. And then also you don't need to wait for them to do a credit check on you, and then you have, you're on their 45-day payment plan or whatever it is. It's better to just do this with credit cards and your own money and make sure that you're paying off the credit cards. The point is that those are the only essential things you need to do. You need to incorporate, you need to get a tax number. You need to get a lease on a retail space. You need to make video and pictures of that retail space, and you need to send it to your distributors, and then you need to get the banking information that you need to set all this up, right? And then you need to pay for furniture, and then you need to pay for product, and that's how your store starts. Eventually, if you set up the Google location, Google Maps location, and Facebook location, people in your area will find you. It may take time, and you can spend money on advertising, or you can put up banners or whatever you want to try and get people there sooner. But eventually, especially Magic players are going to find you and start playing there on Friday night. So that is just sort of my bootstrapping, how to get started, how to get out of the gate. But you shouldn't just do it, right now. Just like, oh, I didn't know I wanted to open a card store. That's how you do it. I'm going to go do it. It's probably not. Sure, go ahead, do it. What do I care?